Hey guys, this is Anthony Michael Hall, Tommy Doyle from Halloween Kills, and you're listening to the Don't Go Out There horror movie podcast. Stay tuned.
David.
What? What?
There's somebody outside.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There horror movie podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There horror movie review podcast. Just want to thank all of our fans and listeners. We really appreciate it. We've had an awesome year. Before we get started in our film review, I just want to give a big shout out to our social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just search @Don't Go Out There. We've gotten a lot of new followers this week, and it's pretty awesome. I've actually Facebook messaged one of them. He just said, "Man, I was just looking on Apple iTunes podcast, and I just saw y'all, and I gave it a shot, and I liked it." Okay, it made all of our day. It's really cool to get those kind of messages. And I want to give a shout out to our website that we have now. It has links to all of our episodes, interviews, celebrity shout outs. We have a new one from Tony Todd, Candyman. Really, really good. And the the voice of Ghostface, Roger L. Jackson. Probably, honestly, my favorite celebrity shout out we've gotten so far. It was awesome.
Same.
And the movie we're reviewing tonight is The Crazies. This is Brother Drew's pick. This is a really fitting movie for the times we're in right now with a virus and quarantine and, government, military takeover of some people. Let's just jump into our general overview real quick. I'll go first. This movie came out in 2010. I remember watching this the year after I graduated high school. Really liked it. I still like it to this day, not as much as back then, though. Because we've all grown, I think, I'll say I've grown as a horror fan just from doing this show with these fine gentlemen. The way I look at movies, the way I review them, watch them, take notes on them, has all changed. I still like this movie, but there's some things that I would definitely change. But I still like it, and it's free on Amazon Prime if y'all want to go check it out. Brian, you want to go next, brother?
Yeah, sure. It's not bad. I mean, I like that this is a different take on a zombie movie. If you could even say that it's not a zombie movie, a different version basically of the Rage virus from 28 Days Later. It's just a more mellowed and higher budgeted take on that, I think, for sure. Just the fact that they can actually talk, carry on a conversation, definitely sets this in a completely different category, I think. I'd never personally seen it until now. I'd seen the original a billion years ago, and honestly, I didn't care for it, which kind of held me back from watching this. But, for a remake, it didn't do too bad. I have a few issues with it. I feel like it has trouble finding its identity, honestly. I feel like it's a more Tom Clancy action movie than a horror movie. It has some aspects, but, we'll get into that.
Mike, you want to go next?
Oh yeah, so I watched this pretty early or pretty soon after it came out. For the first time, I remember not being a big fan of it. Maybe because my taste at that time was just pretty much strictly slasher. Which this has slasher elements in it, and I'm glad you mentioned it, Brian, because it does have trouble finding its footing. It's an outbreak film, but it's got the outbreak kind of makes people murderous, which makes there's a lot of slasher in this. Mm-hmm. And like you said, there's a part where it becomes an action film. So it's a film within a film within a film. There's a lot of, it doesn't quite know what it wants to be, in my opinion. But I actually like it for the fact that it's not a zombie movie. I think they kind of went out of their way to let you know they're not zombies because, again, they can talk and have interaction and they can have collective thought, and they're just sick and infected with what we end up finding out to be a bioweapon. Which, by the way, spoiler alert, they took way too fucking long to reveal it was a bioweapon. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I like it. It's not great. I like it better than the original because this is just more of like your standard horror movie. The other one kind of comments on war and politics and the military, and it gets a little preachy for me. This is just a horror movie that they don't really go too deep into that. So I like that aspect of it. Oh, and by the way, Rhoda Mitchell, Dr. Dudden, call me sometime.
Damn it, Mike.
What? Hey, man, come on. I can't be the only one.
Go ahead, Dustin.
All right, so yeah, I had never saw this movie. I'd never seen this movie until this week. Actually, I watched it twice. Um, I'd heard about it and I saw it. I just never got around to watching it. Timothy Oliphant was a big selling point, though. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
once I realized,
Noted horror alumni.
yeah,
Yes,
right.
yes.
Uh, so I enjoy it. It's definitely not one of my favorites. I do have issues with the film. Number one, I hate when movies or television blends the past and present with as far as like technology and wardrobe. What I mean by that is everybody in this movie is dressed like it's 1974, but they got cell phones. And it's like, okay, is this supposed to be present day? I get it, they're in some podunk town in Iowa, but that's demeaning
Right.
to podunk towns. Like, God, not everybody is 50 years behind the times. That's annoying to me, but it's minor detail. Um, I thought the acting was really well. The makeup and the special effects on the Crazies was incredible. Very well done. And I thought they could have shaved some off of the movie. Went on a bit long, drug it sometimes.
Hmm.
And we'll get to that once we're doing the scene by scene. Overall, though, I'll watch it again, but I won't go out of my way to watch it again, if that makes sense.
Right.
Perfectly said. Good movie to watch, but it's not the first one I'm gonna grab to watch. I'll put
Right.
it that way. Let's jump into the film review, guys. The film starts with a town in carnage. Then it just goes to a black screen in the bottom right corner. It says 2 days earlier. Johnny Cash plays, and we see rural town activity, just farm stuff, abandoned roads, basically. A nurse tells Dr. Deaton her aunt's sick, and she goes home. Officer David gets to the baseball game. A man starts to walk on the field with a shotgun. The sheriff stops him midfield, but he won't drop the gun. He points a shotgun right at David, and David is forced to shoot and kill him. And we get a satellite view. Ogden Marsh, Iowa. Population 1,260 people. Now we're with Sheriff David and Officer Russell at the mortician. The victim's family shows up to find out what happened. She slaps his face. David's wife gets out of bed. Sheriff David, his wife, gets out of bed, who is the doctor, Dr. Judy. She gets out of bed to see him working outside on the porch, and she tells him that he did the right thing, and she's basically just comforting him. And we're just going to do that real quick opening scene. I really think this opening scene is good, guys. This is the scene from the trailer. The guy just walks onto the baseball field with the shotgun. And that would be a hell of a way to spend your, afternoon after a day of work or school, watching the sheriff gun a guy down in the middle of the baseball game you're going to have fun in. I really like that from the trailer, honestly. The opening scene is good. There's some stuff in the middle that kind of drags out, but it starts pretty like, oh, damn, okay. Dustin, do you want to go first on just that opening scene?
Yeah, sure, I'll go first. So I agree. I really enjoyed the opening scene. I thought it did a good job of, first of all, with the town just being up in flames and everything just torn all to shit, and then 2 days earlier. So it does a good job of letting you know, here's where we're going to end. Now let's paint the picture of how we got there. And then they wasted no time, like you said. We're in the opening 5 minutes, and you got dude dead in center field. I did get a chuckle out of the scene where the sheriff's at the concession stand. He's getting a cup of coffee, and the principal's like, "Oh no, sheriff will never pay for coffee." And it's like, "Well, you still got to pay your parking tickets." And as soon as he walks off, he's like, "Start him a tab." But I don't know why that was good. That was clever writing right there, script writing. I thought the opening scene may be the best scene in the film, just because there is no drag. There is like it grabs you and it holds you the entirety of the scene. And it does a great job of setting the tone of what to expect.
The second scene is my favorite, personally, brother. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, so it's interesting because when you come onto this scene and you see the house burning, a lot of times that's a giveaway for the end of a movie. Like when a movie starts like that, it's like, okay, we're going to start at the end, now we're going to go back and lead you up to it. Nope, that's not the house that we see. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I agree with you guys. I really like the opening. I like Johnny motherfucking Cash being in this movie.
Oh yeah.
This town is Midwest as fuck. I think they filmed those parts in Pennsylvania, so they did a good job of making me feel like I'm in Iowa in the middle of fucking nowhere. There Okay, so I like that baseball scene. I almost feel like it was almost scarier because that guy doesn't look infected in any way during
Right.
that scene. He just looks like the town drunk. So, understandably so, he thinks he's drunk as fuck. And then we find out with the mortician or whatever that he used to be a drunk. He's sober now and been sober for 2 years. The wife gets mad and slaps David, but the wife has to remember that alcoholics relapse, pal. It's an easy conclusion to come to. That maybe he is drunk and you didn't know it. But anyway, I was like, man, a little sympathy for my man David there. I also like that it's clear that these two have a really strong marriage. I think that is something they hit very early on. They're in it to win it. They're Jackie Kennedy, ride or die. They're what happened? Something I said?
I love it.
Hey man, brain splatter.
You ain't
Anyway,
wrong.
no, I'm not wrong. And one more thing I want to know, I like that this movie doesn't have what I like to call stupid horror movie cops. We
Right.
talked about it all the time. Every horror movie needs a cop, but at least in this movie, I actually think that David and Russell are two good characters. Like I like both characters, even as Russell goes along. It's not his fault, so I like the two characters, and I like how they play off each other.
Deputy Dewey would have solved this shit day one, though.
Deputy Dewey would have died. Are you kidding? Fuck out of here.
Oh. Well, I mean, you know how big I am on atmosphere, and I think this movie does a really great in that respect. Right off the bat, giving that small town feel. It opens up with Johnny Cash's "We'll Meet Again," which is from the same album actually that provided the Man Comes Around, which opened '04 remakes Dawn of the Dead. So both George A. Romero films originally there. And we're introduced to Danielle Panabaker here. Hey, call Mike sometime.
Yeah.
Which, I'm going to say it now. I mean, she was in that 2009 remake Friday the 13th, and now she's in the remake of the Crazies. Both are pretty good remakes. I mean, maybe she's a secret to it. So, actually, I think I first saw her in Sky High, which, I mean, I know this is a horror movie podcast, but I actually really liked that movie when it came out. Sue me. She was in that Piranha 3. I haven't seen that either, but
Which
that
I think
name
is
cracks
underrated,
me.
but that's
That
neither
name
here nor
cracks
there.
me up. And just the title cracks me up on that. I think it's pretty intense opening at that baseball field. I don't know, things like this that are, real to me kind of hit me, it disturbs me a little bit. And I liked that, especially, in, broad daylight at a baseball game, could happen to me next weekend. It's just something like that. That's good. I think good writing and definitely accomplishes, like what the writers and director Brock Eisner, intended there. This is our second Timothy Oliphant movie in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I think. How long has it been since we've done Scream 2? I don't know, something like that. But I think he plays a much better character here. He honestly proved in Live Free or Die Hard, his range in acting, and certainly I think he certainly deserved a leading role like this. And I think that this movie honestly would be dog shit without him in it. He's great, and I honestly would love to get him on the show.
Hey, I'm glad you said that.
No.
I'm glad you said that, Brian. He is a million miles better in this movie than he was in 1997 with Scream 2. Holy smokes, man.
Absolutely.
Or 98, whatever one it was. He is just a much better actor by this time. He was just getting started in that movie. You can just see the growth. One thing I did miss is, did anyone, man, ever since I started doing this show with Nico, I say, oh, okay, goddamn, way too much. But when he shoots the guy, it was sudden. Like I don't know. That wasn't how I was expecting that scene to go the first time I saw it. And so I almost forgot it had been so long. So when I watched it, I said, oh, okay, goddamn. By the way, that happens again later. Spoiler alert.
Well, the last thing I'll say is I really do like that scene at the house. I mean, almost nothing happens, but it gives you good character development without even saying anything. It lets you know Judy's pregnant without saying a word, and reinforces, the whole this is a small town, the atmosphere, stuff doesn't really happen very much, and, it's really affecting David. And that's almost without any dialogue. So I think they did a really good job right there.
All right, the next scene, the sheriff, he gets the call that he had no alcohol in his blood. So it's like, this is where they start thinking, oh, something's going on. Sheriff goes back to the ball field, and he snaps at a man named Ben who seems unresponsive sitting in the bleachers. Now we're at the doctor's office, and the guy Bill is getting checked by Dr. Judy, and he seems really out of it. He's answering the questions with the same response over and over. Now we're at Bill and Deirdre's house, their husband and wife. Deirdre goes to the barn to see a big piece of farm equipment going. She shuts it off and calls for Bill's name. She hears her son Nicholas call out for her from their house. She runs back to the house, and they hide in the closet because the son says that the dad has a knife. And Bill locks him in the closet, pours gas on the stairs, and lights the house on fire. Now we're at the sheriff's house, and the phone rings, and he goes to a blazed house. The firemen have Bill outside. Judy asks, "What?" I think she said, "What the hell are you do?" Or "What the fuck did you do?" Something like that. And she's crying. You can tell she's really, really upset about it. That's a really powerful scene to me.
Yes, it is.
3 guys are hunting in the woods, and they find a parachute in a tree, and then they find a dead soldier's body in the water. Back at the station, David and Russell notice the same blank stare on Bill's face because they have him locked up behind bars now. The officers and mortician check out the dead soldier. And now a citizen is taking the 2 officers where he heard the crash on a boat. They realize they're right on top of this sunken plane in the water. The 2 go to the town planner to ask which way the water flows. And the sheriff figures out the town's water is infected from it. Now Sheriff David, he goes to the mayor to ask for the water to be shut off. And he refuses, saying it'll bankrupt everyone because it's a farming community. The sheriff doesn't listen, and he shuts off the water anyways. Russell notices Bill on the ground. He springs up, and he looks completely infected. This is that iconic look. This is that scene that everyone knows, the guy reaching from the jail cell. It's really cool look. They notice that the internet's down, the phones are down, and the cell signal is out too. And Sheriff David is out in the middle of town, and you get this really big ghost town atmosphere. Sheriff goes to the morgue and calls for Jim. He sees a body moving under the sheets with his eyes and mouth sewn shut. He grabs scissors to cut the stitches, and the body says, "Behind you." The mortician hits him with a piece of some kind of equipment, and he's knocked to the ground. He tries to saw his face with a medical saw, but he grabs the power cord, and the saw starts cutting the mortician, and it kills him. He drops the saw on the ground, and the sheriff is scooting on his butt back away from the saw that's chasing after him, but it runs out of extension cord to where it doesn't chop his balls off, is what it honestly is. Officer Russell shows up and unplugs it, and he sees all the blood everywhere. A lot just happened there, fellas.
It did. There was a lot.
Brian, do you want to go first, brother?
Yeah, sure. So I like in these scenes, how it's showing something is wrong with Bill, but they're covering a lot of ground here without wasting a lot of time. I mean, seriously, right here, we're at only 10 minutes into this movie. I mean, it's almost like a lot's happening too fast. I mean, I know we complained about it being too long, but maybe that's why it seemed so long, is because we went boom immediately into the action. There wasn't a whole lot of build up there. I loved the tension in the scene where Bill's wife's standing in front of the plow and in the closet, but man, like you said, watching him light that match and knowing he just killed his wife and kids and whistling as the ants go marching in, that was rough to watch. I mean, that was pretty good. That was a nice little horror aspect for as much as I was complaining about it, being too actiony. I'll say this about Russ, Joe Anderson. I mean, he's not the lead in this movie, but honestly, I found his character arc to be probably the most interesting here. Watching him slowly succumb to the virus over the course of the film, and then having David have to deal with him in the last act, spoiler alert, but it was a very good subplot, and probably honestly the lead reason for me being very interested and invested in the movie the whole time and not getting too bored with it. His chemistry with Oliphant's great, I think, and it's a very believable friendship, between the two of them. Love the cinematography showing the plane under the boat. Loved that shot. Also with David walking down the deserted street. Little fun fact there, the lady who rides on the bike that David sees is actually a cameo from Lynn Lowry, who was a co-star of the original one.
She has a gross scene in that movie. Jesus. Anyway.
And I'll disagree with Mike on this part, because I honestly could do without the government aspect of this entire movie. I mean,
right,
honestly.
Me too.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. Earlier, I know you were talking about needing to hear that it was like a government thing earlier, and so that's what I thought. But I'd rather almost not know at all the behind the scenes of this virus and where it came from or anything whatsoever. maybe that's what to me makes it kind of so Tom Clancy-ish to me. I would like to have, like, see all this happening and not really give me an explanation. Very end, or touch, but to me, take out the whole government aspect of this entire movie, and I think I would have liked it better. And my last little nitpick, or maybe I just didn't see it right, but the scene at the mortician was, it was super intense, but how did that dude know to tell David that the guy was right behind him with his eyes sewn shut? So I don't know. That was my thing.
Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, so getting straight into it, I think that's the problem with this film is that it didn't maintain that pace, like you said. We were so balls to the wall in the first several minutes, and then just like, okay, here's a dead period where we're just kind of repeating. It honestly, I liken it to The Walking Dead. Like, so much happened in the first few seasons, then it's like to just keep repeating the same as they move town to town. That's what the back half of this movie feels like. It's like they're repeating the same thing as they move building to building or whatever. But yeah, they did a good job of showing, Principal Ben when he's sitting there in the bleachers and he's like, I'm late, and he just gets up and walks off. It's like, okay, yeah, that guy's fucked up too. But good scene, good scene. I don't like how when they went to the mayor's house. First of all, is it believable that he figured it out that quickly? Like, oh, the plane landed here. What's the water flow? Oh, there, it would have hit that house first, then this house. It makes sense. This is what it is. Like, I don't know. That just seemed a little unbelievable, like Scooby-Doo-ish to me.
That's part of that pace. Everything happens so quick.
Right.
Yeah. And then, when he goes to the mayor's house, that irritated the shit out of me. Like, I don't know why the mayor had to be swimming and why he didn't have a fence up around his pool. That
Yes, I'm glad somebody else said that.
Out of me. Second of all, the mayor's wrong. In predominantly agricultural communities, they have separate water for the crops as they do the drinking water.
That's right.
So there you go. I'm from Loudoun County. I know that. Like you said, with the military getting involved, the problem that I have with it is, the military swooping in and everything. That does that poor job, like I said, of blending past and present.
Yeah.
Like the military comes in, they look like it's fucking 2015. They got the modern equipment and everything, and my man's still riding around in a 1979 pickup truck. It's like, I don't know. It just bothers me how they depict small towns sometimes. And then like when that saw starts skedaddling across the floor, Final Destination style, it's like, holy shit. That was really cool though. It was really cool how he wraps the cord around and like got him to kill him, take himself out. Like that was some James Bond shit. And then Russell coming in and stepping on the cord to stop it from castrating him and unplugging it. If you look, the cord was going the opposite direction at the beginning of that scene, but that's okay. That's okay. It made for a cool visual, so I'll let it slide.
So what I'll say about the government involvement is I could do without it, but if we're going to do it, let's introduce the fact that this is a bioweapon earlier. To me, they waited a little too long to introduce that as something that matters in this movie. I would have just rather not had it at all, like just be a virus that kind of outbreaks. But I think they just waited way too fucking long. We'll get to it, but I prefer this kind of spread over a zombie spread. Like at least in my opinion, it's a little more realistic. I can buy into a, clearly right now. And then you had the H1N1 pandemic going on at the time of this movie. Like, so it's, it's more realistic to me. Man, I really, I love that scene with the tractor and the tiller because it is shot well. The cinematography is great. And I actually thought they were just going to kill her right there, run her ass over like that.
Me too.
Man, that would have been some crazy shit. But yeah, this scene and the one after it with the plane, you're right. The cinematography is great. Like it is so, like the rest of the movie doesn't have it to me. I mean, there's a couple scenes, but those two scenes right there really, really highlight it. I love this scene where he's about to burn down this house. It's the most slasher-esque thing in this movie. So clearly I'm gonna like it a lot, and I think that they pull it off really well. And you're right, it's creepy. He gives zero fucks about anything else. He's just whistling. Like it's intense. Like that
motherfucker was mowing the yard when they showed up.
No, that's crazy. That's some crazy shit. And he is emotionless, which I love that in a killer. Like I think that makes it so much more scary. No remorse, zero, none, no human life left there. And fun fact. I'm just gonna spoil a fun fact. That house was an old house that they found. The local fire department was gonna burn that house down anyway, and they decided to let the film crew shoot it. So they kind of got lucky on that. But
Nice.
you're right, Nico. That is a strong scene when Dr. Dudden comes along and is really emotional about this death. It gets the point across that she's also strong. She's a fighter. She's not willing to bow out easily. You can tell she's pissed. She's realized that Bill's the one who killed. I love that interaction. I think it's great. Fuck this mayor, okay?
Yeah.
For the reasons that Dustin said. One, he doesn't know what he's talking about when it comes to the water lines. Again, I hate to repeat Dustin, but he's not wrong here. That's a completely separate thing for crops, for the most part. And two, put a fucking fence up, you
Dude.
bum.
God, you're the mayor.
He's got all this land, and it's a random pool in the middle of bumfuck Iowa,
Right?
and he didn't have the money to put a fence up.
He got his pool is the single nicest thing in that entire town, and he
Right.
can't afford to put a fence around it.
And also, we don't know if he has kids or whatever, but what the fuck you got a diving board for?
Yeah.
He ain't doing backflips, pal.
And
Anyway.
who gets out of the pool with soaking wet hands and grabs a newspaper? You can't read that with wet hands. Anyway.
Only him and the prison guy from the longest yard can have the ability to do that, I guess. Anyway, by the way, don't go to the mayor's house to ask and then shut the fucking water off anyway. Just go shut the water off.
Right?
Wasted time. I agree. We don't ever really get back to this pace for a prolonged period of time. Like once we're done with the burning house scene, we kind of slow things down. Now there's, some stuff's about to pick up, but I just, I'm sorry. I'm laughing during the scene where the spinning razor thing is coming for his nuts, man. I'm sorry. Like it's a good scene. It's not a bad scene or anything, but it didn't take me out of it, but it was humorous. Like I'm like, this thing's coming right for his fucking nuts. And I did like that kill. I like the kill of the mortician. An evil doctor and an evil mortician are two of the scariest fucking things in horror to me because they have a lot of control over a bunch of shit, and you're supposed to trust those people, and we can't trust these. So I thought that was really well done. It's just after this, we get to some complaints I had with the movie. Like after these sets of scenes, we're about to go into a couple scenes. I'm like, okay, cool. But for now, thumbs up all the way.
Mike, you made a good point though about if you're going to just shut the water off anyways,
Just go do
why
it.
go ask the mayor? That's part of that stuff me and Dustin were talking about, where you could just cut some stuff out to make this movie shorter. All right, David wants his wife to go to her parents. She says there's someone outside. David goes out to, I just wrote down his barn/shed. I didn't know what the hell it was to look. He hears his wife calling his name, but military grab him and put him on a bus with his wife and Officer Russell. The military have taken over the town. They're all checking every citizen for a virus. They separate David and Judy after her test comes back bad. All the infected patients are being kept in the school. David wakes up in the back of a military truck. He's dropped off at a gas station where the uninfected are getting like these wristbands. Infected people overrun the school and the military. The military personnel abandon their hospital they've created as they get overrun. The sheriff gets to the station. He and Russell both get guns. Judy is still strapped to her gurney. She tells Becca it will be okay, but Becca doesn't buy it. And in fact, all right. This is a scene in the middle of a lot of some monotony that I really like. Okay.
Oh yeah.
This scene is good as hell.
That's my favorite scene.
Yeah, it's top 2 for me too as well. She tells Becky it will be okay, but she doesn't buy it. An infected person comes in with a pitchfork. It's Ben from the bleachers. He murders a woman by stabbing her through the abdomen. He kills another person with 3 stabs with his pitchfork. Freaking awesome. He goes to kill Becca, but Judy yells and he stops. And Sheriff David gets there in time to kill Ben before he kills Judy. Of course he does. The 4 go to leave, and we see an old woman going through all these bodies. David, Judy, Russell, and Becca walk through the ablaze streets. They're trying to find a car to escape in. The 3 guys from the swamp shout. They shoot a man, and they throw it in the back of the truck they're going to carjack. The four are cutting through a field to find a vehicle. Becca runs towards the house, her boyfriend's. Scotty is in the barn with a gun drawn. He hugs Becca as the sheriff stops them. The military is in the barn. Uh, they invade Scotty's house and remove his family. Scotty runs out and is shot dead, and then his mother is shot. And then they get a flamethrower and light their asses on fire, which is like. And I just wrote with stars beside it, Jesus with an apostrophe
Right.
or an exclamation point after that. A military guy walks in the barn, but the officer David and Russell, they capture him and they question what they're doing. He says all clear as he leaves them in the barn. Judy says the disease has gone airborne. You know, after they capture that military guy, they just question what he's doing. The guy says that, you know, he didn't join the military to shoot and kill unarmed civilians. So he lets those four get away. He doesn't tell the rest of the guys that they're in there. Brian, do you want to go first on those scenes, man?
Sure. I think Mike touched on it earlier, but I really want to reiterate like that. I really like the dynamic between David and Judy, you know, as husband and wife. Like it definitely speaks to their acting, but Oliphant can go from yelling to just normal, and their relationship dynamic is honestly very realistic to me. Like, for example, when he's telling her, hey, if we need penicillin, we'll call you. I mean, it's just, you know, and also that line with David saying, don't ask me why I can't leave without my wife, and I won't ask you why you can. That was a great fucking line. Like,
Yes,
I loved that. Like I said a minute ago, this hospital scene to me is the best scene in the whole movie. Like, just hearing that pitchfork dragging down the hall, Becca and Judy just being helplessly tied down. I love Becca, I really do, and the actress. I love the whole character, but to me, it would have been a lot more effective to have her die here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because how she goes later, spoiler alert, I mean, it's okay, but I just think that this would have been harder to watch, and it definitely had more of a horror aspect to it. If they'd have killed her, you would have had another, oh, Jesus, like moment right there. Like,
no doubt.
oh, man, they knocked her out. I think that would have been much better than where she went later.
All right. Man, this all happened really quick. Like, I know we kind of talked about the pace, but all of a sudden we've loaded everybody into town up on buses, like real quick. That like they got that plan in place with the fucking quickness, man. And
Right.
all of a sudden everyone's on a bus, everyone's going here, everyone's going there. So you're a little confused. But you know, they're testing people for high fevers, and you know, they split them up, and I'm so into them as a couple that actually got me. I'm like, damn it, no, man, come on. I mean, you figure this movie's got a lot more time left, so it's gonna be okay. But in the moment, you're like, fuck, man, I did not want to see these two split up at all. I mean, so okay, how do I put this? I love that pitchfork scene. I think the pitchfork is a fucking underrated ass slasher weapon. Like, there needs to be a new slasher if we ever get a new slasher. Pitchfork should be the goddamn weapon, man. That's some tough shit. And they do a good job with, again, using horror elements with those scenes. You hear the pitchfork, it's creepy against the silence, and then, man, the two women actresses right here do a great job. Like, just like, you know, we talk about scream queens. They do a great job screaming. Like, it's a skill. Not everyone can do it well. There's some Friday the 13th and Halloween's that those actors just do a terrible job. These two do a really good job. So, I mean, my only thing about having them meet back up in the hospital is it just so happened to be that David and Russell are the only two fuckers to get away. They're the only two the military didn't happen to see. They didn't shoot them. They're the only ones, really. Like, I don't know. But there is a little bit of seed of doubt with Russell planted in these scenes where you kind of wonder, because he's not like losing it yet or anything, but he says some things and does some things. You're like, oh shit, like I'm a little worried about him. So, good scenes. I know a lot of people think the hospital one is it's their favorite, and that's good. Mine's coming later, but I really do like that scene. It's probably number 2. But there's some stuff here. When we get to the barn and we get to Scotty, I just would have cut Scotty out entirely. Like, I don't think him and his mom serve any purpose in this movie other than to die on screen at the hands of the military, which is fine. We see that all the time in movies, but the movie's long enough. Like, I don't feel like it needed Scotty and all that, and even the military. Like, I'm fine with them capturing the military guy, unmasking him, asking him questions, and letting him go. Like, that scene can stay, but some of this other stuff just feels like it's dragging on. Like, okay, let's leave this barn, let's get on to the next thing, because they're going home, which I still think is stupid, but I know they want a car. But I, fine, cool, whatever. But I just feel this is where it starts to drag for me. The minute Scotty is introduced, I'm like, I don't give a fuck about this guy, man. And it's not his fault. I don't know. It turns into a decent little action movie right here too. Like I said, again, It just has trouble finding its footing. But it's yeah, I would have done without some of that. Like, I don't know, it dragged on. And like you said, I would have killed Rebecca in hospital because the way they kill her pisses me off. It's so stupid. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
You're right. You're right though, Mike. This is kind of right after that. This scene is where it starts to like, oh my gosh, come on. You're right about that. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, I agree with what you guys said for the most part. I thought that the scene where they're back at their house and he's out in the barn and hears the scream, and so he goes out. When the military grabbed him, that jump scare got me, like, it scared the fuck out of me because I didn't know what was happening. Like, it's not like the other jump scares in the movie, if there really are any. They kind of ominously appear rather than jump out at you. And so when they got him like that, it's like, oh shit. But I don't like how the military was introduced. Like, there was no, you had the military camera footage with the latitude, longitude showing but you never really had any indicator that they're on their way or that there was a plan in play. It was just kind of out of nowhere, which maybe was a point because it did a good job for the shock factor, but it kind of felt like another storyline forced into an existing one. So as far as what you were saying earlier about the military not being involved, for that reason, I wish they hadn't. I wish it had never been like a military thing because it would have felt more organic. The pitchfork scene is iconic. I mean, that's the movie poster, right? That's when you look up the Crazies, you see the pitchfork on the ground. There wasn't enough pitchfork for me. Like, if you're gonna put it on the movie poster, it needs to be very prominent in the film.
I agree.
That's going to be a shirt. That's going to be a shirt in the store. More pitchfork, Dustin. It's going to be.
That's a great quote, though. More pitchfork.
Absolutely.
Well, a pitchfork.
God, there's a fever, and the only prescription is more pitchfork.
It's more pitchfork.
You're like,
as far as what you're saying about Scotty, I completely agree, and I'll do you one better. You could have done Becca the same way. I wasn't emotionally invested in Becca. What we got? She worked with Dr. Dutton. Like, that's all we got out of her.
Yeah.
And so there was no character development. There was no attachment. There was no emotional storyline to where I cared about her. And then we're gonna spare her life, and I would have liked to see either more of a backstory or just cut that part out altogether. We don't need her in the hospital getting saved.
Kill her there. Right there.
Or kill her there, yeah, because then it's like, okay, I remember her. She worked at the doctor's office. That's why Dr. Dutton was upset that she died. But instead, it prolonged the inevitable, and it was really pointless. It could have helped shave off the 10 to 15 minutes that needed to be shaved off the film.
Agreed. The four are walking down an empty road. They head toward another house. They get to the sheriff's house, and they start to put tires on the sheriff's old car. Judy's in there's baby's room, and there's a woman lurking in the background. I thought that was kind of a good visual. David goes upstairs and is jumped on by another man. And he sees his wife strapped to a chair and bound and gagged. The woman stabs a knife in his hand. It's the mother and son of the man he killed in the baseball field. He rips the knife out of the floor and stabs her in the throat. And then Russell shoots the man from outside the window. David frees Judy, and she treats his hand wound. Russell puts a couple of extra bullets in them. Judy thinks he may be infected now. The spoiler alert, the guy getting shot is my least favorite kill. That's why I started laughing. Sorry about that. The four drive off in the car. Becca starts coughing a lot, and Russell seems to be going a little bit psycho. Helicopters fly over their car, and David whips it into the car wash at a gas station. The car wash starts up. Russell shoots at a person. Some infected people attack the car. An infected person wraps a hose around Becca's neck and is snatched out of the car and killed by hanging. The final three start to walk down the road. Russell yells, "There's a car coming." David goes to shoot them to steal the car, but Russell throws spikes in front of it, and the SUV flips and goes off the road. David, he questions the guy. He's an intelligence officer. What was on the plane. And Judy says it's a biological weapon. And then Russell, out of nowhere, just kills his ass. And I wrote, Russell, he looks really infected now. Russell pulls a gun on David and Judy. He says he saved him 3 times, and he tells him to walk. David stops and tells Russell he wants to talk to him. He punches him and takes the pistol. Russell asks, "I'm not right, am I?" He gets the epiphany, like, oh, there's something wrong with me. He begs to just keep walking with him. And the next 2 scene is the ending, fellas. Dustin, you want to go on with that?
Sure. Yeah. So I'm right there with you as far as the worst kill. And I'll get into why, I guess, when we do the worst kill, but that annoyed the shit out of me. I thought that scene was really something, though. Like, they're in their house and she sets the scene. This would have been your room, and starts rubbing her stomach. And that's something that'll, buddy, it'll get you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear the lullaby playing, and it's almost because you hadn't saw Debbie at that point, or Peggy. I think that was her name, Peggy. My apologies. You hadn't seen her be in the room at that point, and so you just hear the music playing as it shows David, and you think to yourself, man, she's struggling, she's having a moment, like, reality's coming back, she's pregnant, she's remembering everything that's happening, and then when she walks up the stairs, that's when you're like, oh shit. And so I thought that was a really well done scene. The scene, you're right, they did a great job of really progressing Russell's look.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he went from just looking like your average country boy deputy to looking like a methed out redneck. And it did a great job of, okay, you knew something's up, because his behavior was kind of erratic already, like through the rest of the film. He was kind of this, I won't say loose cannon, but he had his quirks about him the whole film, but they really intensified them and getting up to this point. And the spike strip scene cracked me up when he just takes off hauling ass after the vehicle flipped. Like, I love that part. I don't know why, but I had to rewind it because I was laughing so hard. He throws the spike strip and then just takes off hauling ass across the road. I loved it. I thought that they didn't do a good enough job, or it felt weird to me when he's like explaining what it is. It's Trixie, blah blah blah. She immediately knows that that's biological. Like, okay, I'm sorry, not everybody's a fucking rocket scientist. Apparently, break it down a little bit.
Right.
Let us know how you came to that conclusion there, Dr. Trudy or Dr. Judy. But overall, good scenes. God, when he shot the agent in the forehead, that was some tense shit.
Yep.
And I thought that's when I was like, okay, it's about to get real. Unfortunately, we're still a little bit further out before it got really real, but
right. Man, I agree with you. We've complained about how long this movie is, but it honestly, to me, was the chunk we just talked about. After that, there is some good stuff to really latch onto that I like. The scene in the house, as much as I complained about them going back there in the first place, is actually my favorite scene. Outside of the kill of the son with the gun, that's my least favorite kill as well. But everything else in that scene I love. It's emotional. You get the couple, they're on the clothesline, and you get them really having a moment like, this was our house, this was our home, everybody's dead. Like, you get that character development that's sad, and it sets up the scene in the room. This would have been your room, and you're emotionally tied right now to this. But something's coming, and Nico said it best. That's a great shot. That is a great shot where oh fuck, somebody else is in this house too. Now, I like that they made it the family of the guy that David killed. That's a really nice touch.
Yep.
I think that worked out great. Like, they were waiting on them to come back there. I think that's really good. And the reason this is my favorite scene is because it's so intense. Bam, you're right into David being choked. They stab his hand. You're like, fuck, how is he going to get out of this? Because the movie's not over. They're not killing off David here. So you're like, how the hell are they going to get out of this? And he's really smart. He's talking shit to somebody who could basically kill him point blank range right there. But an infected person, like we've seen in other zombie movies, doesn't always have the best brain.
She kind of wants to drink it in, like I'm gonna get to kill you. You killed my husband, you asshole. And he does it. I love the knife to the throat kill. It's fucking. He
Yep.
slides his hand up, which is excruciating, but
Me
the
too.
effects look good. And he takes the hand and puts it right to her fucking throat. I think that's an awesome kill. Probably my favorite kill in the whole movie. Maybe I don't know. There's one later that has some competition. I'm going back and forth between the two, but I think it's great. Um, after that scene and everybody's okay, they just man, okay. So this car wash thing bugs the fuck out of me a little bit because we've turned a car wash into a villainous character, and I don't quite understand. Like like it's like a Knight Rider, but for a car wash. It's like all of a sudden this thing comes to life, and then they add people that that are infected in there, and there's just a lot going on. It's intense. Don't get me wrong. There's some decent stuff about it, but the way they kill off Rebecca here is such a waste of my time. Just kill her in the hospital. She didn't even need to be along for this ride. I mean, she doesn't add anything because of the way they kill her off. Maybe if they had her sacrifice herself or something, she would have played a more important role. But they just kill her off in a car wash when they shouldn't even have been in this fucking car wash anyway. And then after all of that, after the car wash is done, they get out of the car rolls on, and the military blows the car up. When they blew the car up, I said, "Oh, okay, goddamn," again, because it was literally out of nowhere. They just drop a bomb on top of the car. Man, but you start to see the deterioration of Russell throughout these scenes, and you realize it very quickly the minute he shoots that agent in the head that this is a wrap for him. I don't know. I didn't know where it was going the first time I ever saw it, but and you're right, Dustin. They do not hammer this Trixie thing home enough. They barely mention it. It's a bigger deal in the first movie, to my recollection. In the original, they kind of hammer that home a little bit better. How the doctor knew it was a bioweapon all of a sudden, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like he was just kind of there to be killed, if you want my opinion, to kind of show Russell's descent into madness. So, yeah, man, it is sad. It's touching. I'm emotionally invested in Russell. Russell, who the fuck is that? Russell. I'm emotionally invested there, and so when he realizes, fuck, I'm infected, and you see the look on his face, he's talking about his catfish. I felt that there with him, man. I think it's good stuff. It's well acted. All three of them really play it well up to this point, and this should have been the three the whole time. Rebecca, inconsequential death.
For sure. I think it's great cinematography, and the shot as the families are walking back to the farm, but come the fuck on. It's unreal. With the amount of walking that they're fucking doing. She's pregnant. If anybody is listening and has been around a pregnant woman, she's not going to walk 7 fucking miles. Just don't tell us how long it is. But the movie was like, well, we got 7 miles to our house. It's just, I don't know. To me, it's unrealistic. And then they got like 30 or 40 more miles that they walk the rest of the movie. And so that to me, that nagged at me for some reason. And I don't necessarily like the break in the action, but I really thought it was pretty good. Character development building with David and Judy's relationship even further. It lulls you into a sense of complacency. Just as the shit hits the fan with the Peggy being in there, in there with Judy and I think Kurt was his name. But it's a little bit unrealistic, and I think it was just the way they cut the movie. But the way that David, went for the gun, it was like halfway across the room almost. And but I really put all that aside because I forgave it because I love how badass that he stabs her in the neck with that knife already in his own hand. That is my favorite kill for sure. Again, great job for Joe Anderson showing Russ sliding into his craziness, but fucking come on, movie, because it was almost ruined in the next scene as they felt it necessary to have Judy say it out loud. Like, again, the audience is smart enough to see it happening, and it felt like hey, did you guys see that? Just making sure part of the movie. So, I mean, right. I could have definitely done without that. If you're listening to this podcast way on down the road, we're definitely doing this during the whole coronavirus thing, and Becca coughing in the back seat felt exactly like right now, because, I mean, you can't even cough from sinuses without people thinking that you're sick and looking at you exactly like that. So, just as they get in the car wash, I don't know if they're trying to throw you off and make you think David may be getting sick, but honestly, I think it's great acting and just exactly like a marriage when he was like, "Tell me what fucking magic road can they not see?" I laughed because I was like, that adds a lot of believability to the relationship. And hey, I'm gonna disagree because I really think that I like the car wash scene just because it's so original. Like, when's the last time you've seen a car wash scene in a horror movie? Like, I think Final Destination 4 has one. I don't know. But look, I think it's a great idea. I mean, you can mash the gas. Where are you gonna go? I think it's pretty intense, and I kind of, I like the writing to come up with something original there. Um, Everybody saying, "Let's get us out of here," and David, I felt like, I kind of laughed a little bit because David was like, "We can't fucking get any traction. Like, shut the fuck up." Like, it just, I don't know, the way he said it and delivered that line, I loved it. And yeah, 100% that Becca kill to me is definitely trash.
All right, fellas, last two scenes here. They get to a roadblock. Russell walks towards the military guys at the roadblock, saying he's not sick. He pulls a gun and is immediately shot dead. David and Judy sneak off as they kill Russell. They get to the truck stop. It's trashed and abandoned. David goes inside to look around, and I put with stars beside it. Why would you leave Judy alone right now? He sees a semi in the garage. He cries out for Judy and finds her crying as she finds all the bodies that were killed, even though they weren't uninfected, or even though they were uninfected. They have a deep conversation about surviving this at a table. And I actually, that's a really good scene too, between husband and wife.
Mm-hmm.
David gets supplies, and we see Judy drink some bottled water. But you see a man in the background behind Judy as she's doing that, like in the kitchen or whatever. The lights go out in the gas station. Judy grabs a knife. It's the men from the swamp. They have the whole station filled with bodies. She hides in a freezer and is overlooked. David gets behind her and covers her mouth with a jump scare. They run to the semi. A body falls out as they get in. David jumps out to get the keys and is pulled underneath the truck, like where they do oil changes and all that. Another guy with a gun goes after Judy, but she kills him with a gunshot as he opens the semi door. David gets the other guy by setting him on fire. You get another jump scare as Judy grabs his hand and they drive away in the semi. They hear a countdown on a radio as they exit the town. As it gets to 0, the whole town is blown up. The semi is flipped from the surge of the explosion. The two crawl out of the truck unharmed somehow. They start to walk along the road again as they look back at the explosion. The film ends with David and Judy making it to Cedar Rapids, and another satellite shot says, "Begin containment protocol." Brian, you want to give your thoughts on the ending, man?
Yeah, sure. I liked how it was kind of back to a horror movie for the scene at the truck stop a little bit. But, why, to me, I didn't understand why David just didn't shoot the motherfucker while he was hiding in the freezer with Judy. He had a gun, the redneck guy had a knife. I guess I didn't understand that one. I mean, maybe he didn't want to alert himself to the others with guns. Okay, I'll give him that. But I mean, if that's the case, then why the hell are you making so much damn noise when you're getting in that big truck? So, I don't know. I didn't really get that, but I guess it does give you the action scene where him fighting in that kind of oil. I don't know what they call that, like the oil little ditch or whatever. But that scene is actually like super similar to the fight scene that Thomas Oliphant does in Hitman, where he's like fighting close quarters, sliding that metal plate in order to take out the guy he's fighting. It's almost exactly the same thing. And, I don't know. Okay, so you guys may totally disagree with me here on the ending, but I think the ending seemed really cheap, like unnecessary. To me, I managed to really like these characters, and then, they managed to survive. They managed to get away for everything, and then basically, boom, everything's fucked at the end. And I've said many times on here and praised many movies without happy endings. So I don't need it to be happy. I don't have to have a happy ending. But to me, in this one, I did. Like, it almost is like they were like, oh yeah, this is a horror movie. How about this at the end? So I don't know. I'm not a fan of it. I think it just should have ended with them driving. Nuke the town if you want. Again, even have them walk out unharmed. Again, she is pregnant again. But have them walk out unharmed, whatever. But just kind of end it there to me. It just made it feel more Tom Clancy-ish there, and I just, I don't know. I wasn't a huge fan of the ending.
I'm with you. Go ahead, Dustin.
Yeah, I agree. The truck stop scene, that's another part where I was like, man, we don't need all this. Like, this just feels like it's dragging out. because it was very similar to like when they're back at the house and he's searching for supplies or whatever.
Yeah.
I just feel like we don't need so much of that because of the pace you set early on. Then you said it, the Timothy Oliphant hitman scene part 2, and I thought that was a cool kill though, like setting him on fire. And then he barely made it out because of all the oil that's down there. He barely made it out alive without being burned up. Then driving off. I kind of do like that. It's like, okay, it gives you the warm and fuzzies. Oh, they made it, and then it's like, oh no, never mind, they're fucked. Like, I kind of appreciated that. Like, I didn't mind that as much as I did. Like, I don't know. I feel like nuking it is kind of a cop out.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a very Donald Trump response. Just nuke it.
That's nukes. Huge.
Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but there was also a scene in the credits. It was about 2 or 3 minutes into the credits. There was another scene, and it was a news flash, came on like it was a local Iowa news. And the cool fact is that was actually a real the ABC affiliate for Cedar Rapids. That was their actual logo and an actual anchor for that news channel that they used. And so if you're in Iowa at the time you're watching this, that was a nice little touch to add some authenticity to the film. But yeah, I didn't have a problem with the fact that they realized they were screwed as much as I did have a fact of, let's just drop a nuke on it.
Right. So I'm a fan of the idea that, they've killed everyone, not just the sick. Like, I think they kind of set that up throughout the movie. You kind of start to, or at least I did, you start to pick up on that. You're like, I think there's more to this than people just being sick. And then I like the reveal of the shotgun casings on the ground. You realize, oh shit, they've literally wiped out this entire town. Like, they spared no life here. And I thought, that was well done. But after that, we're in the truck stop. If they were just going to let us know at the very end, these two aren't going to make it because they're about to do the exact same thing to Cedar Rapids, they should have just died together in this truck stop. Like, got it on right there on the table, like, a little Talladega Night style where, Ricky Bobby and what's her name are getting it on. They should have just went at it right there, baby. But no, we had to get a diner scene, which reminds me of the diner scene from freaking Jason Goes to Hell. Like, there's a lot of vibes with that.
You're right.
It does go back to the horror part of it, but it's just not necessary to me. Like, there's some good stuff in it, like the kill with the truck guy. It's a good kill. He sets him on fire, barely gets out. I like that kill. But to me, blowing up the explosion catching the semi is fine, except the effects don't age well. So I don't think it looks that good. I just think a lot of that is unnecessary. Again, we've established everything that they're already laying down here. They have a strong relationship. We get that. They've overcome all these odds. We get that. We don't need to throw more at them. And then at the end, you find out, they're not making it. And by the way, Dr. Dutton, what are you doing? I know times are tough, but Aquafina, come on now. All that other water there, and you grab a fucking Aquafina. I'm going thirsty. Fuck that shit.
They paid the most money.
Something tells me Dustin likes Aquafina.
Here
it comes.
Better than Dasani, though. Fiji or Voss is the only water I drink, pal.
I'll drink it right out of the hose. I don't give two shits. Okay, but look, there's just... I just feel like they could have shaved all this off and just killed him at the diner. But if you're not going to do that, I would have just, okay, we realize everyone's dead. We got to get the truck and get out of here. I just would have not done anything else with that scene except get in the truck and go. Like, we don't need anything extra. And then if you want to blow up the truck and then they have to walk to the next town, fine. But I just kind of feel like, unnecessary. So the ending is kind of a buzzkill for me because there's a lot of good. There's a dragging point in the movie. But, I just kind of feel like if you were going to have a non-happy ending, which is fine. I don't mind that. I feel like you could have shaved about the last 15 minutes off this movie and helped out with the runtime. Because an hour and 41 minutes. I just don't feel like this is a script worth an hour and 41 minutes. That's just my opinion.
Well,
No,
what's
you're
the
right.
point of the entire movie? If
Exactly.
I mean, they've established that you're going to kill the whale, okay, that's fine. Then if you're going to drop a nuke at the end anyway, what's the point of the entire thing? Why don't they just
Exactly.
nuke the whole thing, period? Like, I mean, just at the beginning, why even do it at all? Or go through the whole trouble of rounding everybody up, killing them, and then dropping a nuke just for, hey, and make sure we got everybody? I don't know.
Right.
That's just, it was overkill.
I guess it had to make it look good instead of just government killing people, pal. But whatever.
They had a few bucks left in the budget at the end.
There you go.
All right, before we jump into fun facts, and I make a confession, fellas.
Yes.
I until we started reviewing this movie, I had no idea that was Mickey from Scream 2.
Oh man.
It's all about the trial.
Yeah, and no joke, fellas. Every movie review before I start my notes, I write down all the main characters, look up who played them, and until y'all said that, I was like, oh shit, that is Mickey, isn't it?
Jesus Christ.
Hey, I only have 3 fun facts. Do y'all got fun facts?
No,
I
I've
pretty
said
much
mine
said
during
mine.
I've
I have a
got
couple though.
I got 2.
I'll just read mine because I really only have 2 as well because, like Brian said earlier, Lynn Lowry, co-star of 1973, The Crazies, is an infected local riding a bike through the deserted town. Each actor who went, in parentheses, crazy, sat in, or not parentheses, quotation, sat in a makeup chair for 3 hours. And Elizabeth Banks turned down a role in this film because she thought it was too similar to her character in Slither.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Dustin, or Mike, Dustin, whoever.
I don't really have. Oh, the only. I just want to talk about the production for a minute. This movie sat in production hell. Like it got passed around to 4 or 5 different studios before it was with Paramount, then it was with Rogue, and then it bounced around a couple different places before it finally found a home. So the script had been out there for a little bit longer than it ended up being made, and um, the 2 leading characters got their part without even auditioning for it. That's who the director wanted. That's who the film studio wanted. And then, so I always like to do this. It was a $20 million budget, and it made $55 million, which I think the studio was actually upset about, which I could kind of understand. You're 35 mil over budget, and that's not including, the marketing that you put into it, which is another couple $1,000,000. So I think that I
It
think
was
this
the
movie.
nuke at the end. It was the nuke. It was the nuke at the end. They should have never done it.
Honestly, they should have just done the entire movie with a crazy guy with a pitchfork. Now that's a good slasher. Somebody hire me. Anyway, yeah. So 55 mil. I feel like this movie is better than that, but I also don't feel like I can understand why it only earned that. Plus, remakes are kind of they're difficult.
Hmm. So yeah, I've only got 2 because I had the Lynn Lowry one as well, and then I said my other one about the news report at the end being an actual ABC affiliate in Cedar Rapids. The other 2 that I have is when they showed the military camera from up above. Anytime they showed the latitude and longitude, those are actual coordinates for places in Iowa, so that was pretty cool. Again, like I said, if you're in the area, it's a nice little touch to add some authenticity. And then the other thing that I thought was a nice little nod was when sheriff goes back and gets the police car. The car is a 1973 Ford LTD. 73 is the year that the original film was released. So that was a nice little nod, throwback to the original.
All righty, let's jump into our favorite part. Favorite kill, least favorite kill, and the rating. Does anybody want to go first, or I can? It doesn't matter.
You
I'll
can
go
go ahead.
first I'll go first if you don't want to. It don't matter to me, brother.
I'll go first.
Okay,
Ain't no
go
problem.
ahead.
Favorite kill. I'm breaking my rule here about off-screen kills, but I'm going with Deirdre and Nicholas in the house fire. I wrote that scene is holy shit worthy. That scene is awesome. I love that scene. Worst kill I've already said was the guy killed by Russell through the window. Kind of tired of seeing this sheriff getting saved. Honestly, like this dude needs to do better. And it was just kind of corny how he just got shot through the damn window. Like how would he see that? To me.
Yep.
Rating. I gave it a 7.5. Solid movie. The infected people's look is great. Really like the opening scene in the ballpark. Has several effective scenes. The house on fire, Becky and Judy in the pitchfork scene, David and Judy in the room. I wrote it's decently, it's well acted. I thought the military takeover was way too much. I don't think they'd ever do something that extreme. I mean, hell, 10 years after this, we're living through it now. It's not been that extreme. In my opinion, all zombie movies are kind of the same. Not bad, but not my favorite. Probably could have been shortened some. No need for it to be an hour and 40 minutes. And this is something I wrote down too. I said, I also think the Judy being pregnant plot would be more effective if she actually had a baby bump. She doesn't even look pregnant. Good movie though, and it's free on Prime. Woot woot.
So what's the rating? Did you rate it? Did I miss that?
7.5.
7.5.
7.5. I'm sorry.
My favorite kill is the stab to the neck with the knife already in his hand. I think that's a badass kill. I love it. My least favorite kill is in the same damn scene with shot through the window. Basically because it's just another gunshot, and I don't think it's that effective. The only thing I could think of was the fact that that's how his dad died, so maybe same thing. I don't really know. That's the only thing I could really think of. But even then, come on, you can get a little more creative than that. So, a rating, we're starting to agree a little too much. I gave this a 7.5 as well. I think that, but that's about, because there's a lot of good, but there is a point where, okay, this movie is too long, and there's two really long sets of scenes that go way too far. Like, let's shorten these up, cut this out, cut that out, and we'll have a much better, more concise movie. And I feel like there's a better version of this movie within the movie if you cut some of that stuff out. So, good movie. I have a lot of fun with it. Again, I'm not like dying to watch this, but I will probably watch it again, especially if we ever go through another damn pandemic. Well, it'll be timely, so I'll be, but I won't do what they did. I'll go back for my wife, but I don't know about all the crazy stuff. I'm like, hey, honey, let's stay here. Let's die together. It's going to be okay. Sorry.
So I'll go next. I agree with what you said, Mike, on the favorite kill and least favorite. So favorite kill, pulling the knife out of the floor and stabbing Peggy in the throat. I mean, it doesn't get much more badass than that. And then just the way he stuck it in her throat and just stared at her and held it there. And I thought that was awesome. Least favorite, it's just impractical that Russell was able to shoot him through the window.
Right.
Like the curtains weren't open that much. There was just a crack. And so you're trying to tell me that of all the windows in the house, he picked one, saw a back, didn't know whose back it was, but thought, I should probably shoot him because it's probably going to save my partner. Get the fuck out of here. All right.
It was a shotgun too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, would that even reach through the window? I don't
Was
know.
it a shotgun? I thought it was a rifle, but
It might have been the rifle. You're right. It might have been the rifle.
either way. And that scene bugs the shit out of me anyway, because number one, she picks up the gun and shoots it into the wall. Like, okay, what's that accomplished? Number two, she says, this is the gun that he shot your father with. No, it's not. He got that out of the desk. But anyway, I gave the movie a 5.75. I know I've kind of been tougher on movies than you guys have. Some of the movies that you guys have, I've been more lenient on the ones that I like. But this one, I just think that if they trim the fat,
Right.
this had so much potential because they did the effects really well. Mm-hmm. They did the makeup really well. It is a good story. I thought it could have been done so much better if they just trimmed the fat and got rid of the damn mayor, or at least put a fence up.
Hey, I really want to say this is a zombie movie in the way that it's fleshed out and stuff, but I like that it's also not a zombie movie. Right. It is a pandemic movie where we're not, by 20 minutes in, there aren't flesh-eating zombies. Like, there's a place for that. I don't hate zombie movies, but I do want to point out I like that they didn't go that direction with this movie. They just stuck with being sick and infected, and they went mad. Like, they didn't go eat your skin, but they went mad like they lost all control over like their good human traits and just wanted to kill people. So I like that element exists where it's not just, another Night of the Living Dead or Dawn of the Dead or whatever the fuck of the dead.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with I like the fact that it was a little bit different, too. Speaking of not being different, I completely agree with Dustin and Mike on the best and worst kills. I can't even say that even better than they already said that. I already said this earlier, but I wanted a little bit more horror in this film. I feel like at points, the movie didn't even know what it wanted to be. Did it want to be horror? Is it action, suspense, thriller? I wanted a little bit more of the horror aspect, I think, in this, and it had some parts, but it wasn't quite there for me. Overall, it was enjoyable. I'm not going to go put it in and watch it again. If it was on TV, I might catch it just, for the heck of it. But, I gave it a 6, so it's a little bit lower, than some people, but I gave it a 6 from me.
That's fair. And to be fair, if I didn't pick the fire kills, I would pick the knife in the hand.
Right.
Too. That was a cool kill. But man, that damn scene with the guy lighting the house on fire was just
super
awesome
intense.
to me.
I agree.
What was what did Drew rank it? 6.5, I think is what he
6.5, yes. 6.5, yes.
I mean, that's what this movie is. Between I would say a 6, no higher than a 8. I mean, you got to really damn love this movie.
It's in between a 5.5 and a 7.5. Like, that's a pretty good.
Right. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. So on average, we rated this movie a 6.65. That's respectable.
There you
Clap
go.
it up, baby. Clap it up. Brian Rector, you director, you clap.
But you guys are right.
You have an average film.
You guys are right. I mean, it has a great opening scene. The next scene with the lighting the house on fire is good. Then it's like some man going into the swamp.
Right.
Then we go to the morgue. That's okay. Then the pitchfork scene is really good. Then it's just a bunch of them 4 running away from the military over and over and over.
Right.
It's like, oh, Lord. Yeah, I agree with y'all. It kind of lost its direction. Didn't know where it was going. I think it was trying to do too much, honestly. If you trimmed it up, it'd be an 8, 8.5 maybe.
Yep, I agree.
This was movie.
It was almost like a video game. It was almost like you had to get to the next level. You had to walk all this way to get to this part.
Right.
Kill the boss in that little level, and then get to the next one. That's what it was like almost.
It's like playing Resident Evil or something.
It really was.
That's a good point.
But it was a fun movie. It wasn't bad.
I agree, fellas.
Who's pick? It's Brian's pick next week. Brian, what you want to announce your pick, brother? This is gonna be a damn good one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Hey, spoiler alert! I love this movie, so I'm gonna rate it high, but 7. Not the rating, the movie title 7.
7.
Brad Pitt, Morgan Freeman.
It's in the box. What's in the box?
What's that other guy's name? Shit.
It's Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey.
And we don't have to mention him by name. It's fine.
He's kind of a scumbag, so we'll just leave him out. Omitted.
That's right.
Well, he plays a scumbag in this movie.
Yeah,
so okay.
Hey, this movie is elite, though.
You can't forget about Gwyneth Paltrow either.
That's right.
Oh, I did. I brought her up because I couldn't remember Kevin Spacey's name. I was buying time until one of y'all filmed me.
Oh, okay.
No, it's damn good movie. Damn good movie.
And I want to say this.
A lot of moral and lessons being taught in this movie.
For someone who comes at us, this is a horror movie. Don't at us.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
It's more of a horror movie than Silence of the Lambs is.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's the same thing. So, by the way, your boy R. Lee Ermey is in this movie too, Mike.
Oh, I know, brother. I can't wait to review it. Let's go.
I'm not gonna lie. This is another one of the movies I'm a little intimidated by just because it's so good. And I hope I can break it down good. But I think we'll do a good job for it. Looking forward to it. Really enjoyed this review. We really appreciate all the support. And y'all have a good night. And just want to remind everybody to don't go out there.